everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of News for Normies, where I try to bring you a week's worth of news in a relatively short time frame. If this is your first time watching, thank you. I would encourage everybody watching to go follow me on Rumble, as I'm going to be talking about Jimmy Kimmel at one point today and showing the clip that y'all have probably heard of at this point. And YouTube will probably hit me with a copyright strike for that. I refuse to edit it out, as I think his words need to be shared with the world. So, yeah, go follow me there on Rumble. I will have all of my social media links, handles, whatever, down below. And go follow me on Twitch, because I plan on doing more gaming live streams, and that'll also become relevant later on in the episode as well. So, again, all of the socials are down below. Go follow me on all those, and share the show with your friends, especially the lefties in your life, because they need to hear the truth. So also, I tried to find this meme, but I couldn't find it on Twitter, but I'll just tell you about it. It was, I think, from the Babylon Bee, and it said, liberals confused by Molotov cocktails that weren't exploding, which is obviously a joke about candlelight vigils that have been held for Charlie Kirk. And as I mentioned last week, now it has been about a week and a half since Charlie Kirk was assassinated in front of his wife and children, by the way, and there's yet to be any riots, buildings burned, stores looted, anything like that. So again, that should go to show you the difference in the political sides in America right now. So keep that in mind when leftists try to claim that political violence comes only from the right, which is a complete lie. Quick side note, the ADL's data that they put together for this kind of stuff is complete bullshit, as they never counted anything that happened in 2020 as political violence, such as all of the riots and deaths from the Summer of Love, or the man that I mentioned last week, Aaron J. Danielson, being shot in Portland simply because he was a Trump supporter. None of that was considered political violence, so their data is complete bullshit over at the ADL. Also, as I record this, a memorial service will be held tomorrow, September 21st, 2025, for Charlie Kirk in Arizona, and my thoughts and prayers truly are with the family, and I pray that they can somehow find some sort of peace in this very hard and dark time that they're in. However, in true leftist fashion, these demons that walk amongst us are planning to protest the memorial service, just like those inbred retards from the Westboro Baptist Church. So, congratulations, lefties. You've come full circle and have become the thing that you claim to criticize. Not that you haven't been before. So, moving on to the news. The text exchange between Tyler Robinson and his roommate have been released, and the district attorney in Utah read those text messages here.
September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange, then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Roommate, why? Robinson, why did I do it? Roommate, yeah. Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The F in messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notice bulge UWU on Fox News, I might have a stroke all right. I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine, IDK. I think that was a $2K dollar scope. Wink, wink. Robinson again, delete this exchange. Again, Robinson, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me, RN, not answering. Robinson, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. Again, you are all I worry about, love. That came from Robinson. Roommate, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent.
Several people are claiming that this text message exchange seems like it was essentially scripted out beforehand as a way to keep the roommate from any legal trouble, but I find it very hard to believe that someone you're living with and in a romantic relationship with had no idea what you were up to. I mean, I talk with my wife all the time about weekly plans, stuff that's coming up in a month from now, 6 months from now, like, because she's my wife, I love her, and, you know, we live together, so we got to kind of coordinate things and make sure, you know, we don't overlap things by accident or whatever. So, like, I'm calling bullshit on that altogether. Also, it seems like Robinson may have stolen the gun that he used to kill Charlie Kirk, but other reports claim that his grandfather gave him the rifle, so that I am not sure of as to how he acquired the gun. Now, the old man detained by police that everybody saw at first and immediately shared on X, like, oh, this was the guy. His name is George Zinn, and he's got a weird past. Apparently, he claims to have witnessed 9/11 happening. He claims to have called in a bomb threat at some marathon in Utah shortly after the Boston Marathon bombing. And since he was detained by police during the whole Charlie Kirk assassination, he's also been charged for child sexual abuse material. So, more on him in a minute, but it's really weird how a random lefty at an event like this is charged with having child porn. And finally, weird stuff here. Several like pro-transgender groups in Utah are under investigation for possible foreknowledge of Kirk's assassination, most notably a group called Arm Queers Salt Lake City, or Arm Queers SLC for short. So, some weird stuff going on there. And now we are going to get into conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk. And for this episode, I'm not breaking out the tinfoil top hat, as that kind of signifies to me, like, we're going to be a little classy with conspiracy theories. There's nothing classy about a political assassination. So instead, I have the tinfoil helmet. So, oh, and it is a little crooked. Jeez. So, George Zinn, the man I was just talking about, apparently jumped in front of police immediately as the shot rang out that killed Charlie Kirk, and was detained by the police on scene, as you can see here.
We don't know if it's him or not.
So anyone with common sense would say that this guy is somehow involved. Why would you just randomly jump in front of police when you hear a shot ring out and the main guy at the event falls to the ground? Doesn't make any sense unless you knew something beforehand. As far as some of the groups being investigated, some of these pro-trans groups quickly tried deleting their social media pages, but everybody knows that stuff is stored elsewhere. It's not just on your own device, your own hard drive or whatever. So, like, what? Some people are claiming that Israel took Charlie Kirk's life as he kind of started to become critical of Israel, but this one is simply not true, despite what idiots like Candace Owens said. If this was Mossad, they wouldn't have used a 100-year-old rifle with a bullet scope and carved things into the shell casings. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Plus, as Dan Holloway over at Drinking Bros podcast pointed out, when you shoot a gun, especially a rifle that's, real close up to your face, you're going to have gunpowder residue not only on your hands, but on your face and up in your nostrils too. So you'd have to wear some sort of mask to completely seal off your nose and face. And then, wear gloves so you don't have anything on your hands or under your fingernails or anything. So, and knowing that the guy left palm impressions on the roof, he definitely didn't do that. So there's no way this guy was a professional. And just to put a finer point on this, major critics of Israel like Dave Smith and Nick Fuentes have called out this conspiracy theory, as you can see here from their two clips.
Just try to stay away from that bad force. And I should say, one more thing that I just, because I, of whatever, I don't even want to get into the politics of any of it, but I did see, Ian Carroll, and I'm not trying to personally blast him or anything like that. I'm not starting any feuds or nothing like that. I've said nice things about Ian in the past. I know he said nice things about me, but I see him out there and I've seen a bunch of other people doing this, but it's just if you want to go look through it, I mean, it's just crazy. But he had this post about how Israel did this. Israel just murdered Charlie Kirk. And you know me, I don't know. I'm biggest fan of Israel, but I literally just replied and I went, what evidence do we have that Israel was involved with this at all? And I mean, man, if you want to be disturbed, go look through the replies to that. It is unbelievable how people put together theory. They're like, what evidence do you have? By the way, the answer is none. We have absolutely no evidence. There's absolutely no reason to even suspect that is the case, let alone to determine that it's a fact. And all the things people are posing, it's just guys, Jesus Christ, man, I'm sorry. I just don't go for sloppy, kooky theories. If you got some evidence, bring it to me and I'll be the first one to look into it. But then people going like, he was waking up to Israel. Like, dude, he said release the Epstein files, and he once on an interview said like, the pro-Israel people are getting a little too crazy when they're accusing even me of being anti-Israel, but that's about it. And like, to his credit, he defended like having me at the thing and having Tucker and Megan there and stuff, but like, you've just got no real theory here, and it just makes no sense at all. Like, you're telling me the government of Israel took out their number one guy who still had influence amongst young people? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I don't think it's like, I don't know. I think honestly, in a way, I think a lot of those guys might have fallen into their own dark force where they're just so wrapped up in blaming Israel and blame for everything that you start to see it, or you kind of desire that conclusion before you've even reached it. But I think like anyone, like, let's just fucking breathe on this for a little bit. Let's get I'm again, as I say all the time, I'm not against a conspiracy theory. I love a good conspiracy theory. Lots of them are true, but like, you gotta like have a case to make. You gotta have evidence, a coherent narrative, a through line, different, things that back up your assertions. It can't just be this like, just, I don't know. We'll just say that. We'll say it was them. Who cares? Like, I hate that shit. I should say, and I'll probably wrap up here in a.
But there's a contingent on the internet which insists that it was not Tyler Robinson at all. It wasn't the radical right or the radical left, but it was Israel, that Israel struck down Charlie Kirk. Ordinarily, that would be a completely ridiculous thing to say. Completely, utterly ridiculous. You would be laughed out of any room for suggesting that. Why? Because Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel his entire life. Pro-Israel to the hilt. And as far as I'm aware, that never changed. But there is a conspiracy theory that has been promulgated, notably by Max Blumenthal, a Russian shill and a far-left Jew. Candace Owens, another Russia shill and a complete grifter, among others. Jackson Hinkle, another Russian shill, far-left communist. These three have been promulgating the theory that Charlie Kirk was killed by Israel, and they say that is because Charlie Kirk was on the verge of an utter transformation. He was going to start criticizing Israel apparently any day.
So again, like I said last week, the only conspiracy theory that I could believe is that some faction within the FBI was involved. And I pointed out last week that it is widely known that the CIA had John F. Kennedy killed. Martin Luther King Jr. was being blackmailed by the FBI to take his own life because he was constantly cheating on his wife. And then all of a sudden he was shot dead too. So that's weird. So again, that's the only one I could possibly believe. But what I can't figure out, I gotta take this thing off. It's getting hot and hurts. I cut my forehead. What I can't figure out is why nobody is pointing out the obvious here. Childhood rebellion against their parents. Leftists have been lying about Tyler Robinson's political leanings since the day this happened, and pointing out that he grew up in a Christian conservative household. While he may have been raised that way, he probably changed his beliefs once he left to go off to college or moved out on his own, considering he was in a romantic relationship with a transgender person. He was in a romantic relationship with a dude who claimed to be a transgender woman. Typically, people on the right don't do that. Just saying. So, and we all know stories. We've all heard stories about people rebelling against their parents once they get out of the house. I think Jim Brewer had a story once about how his daughter went off to college, and he is pretty right-leaning in his politics, not like a far-right white nationalist or anything, but he was talking about how he tried to instill in her more right-leaning values, Christian type values, family, all that stuff. Then she goes off to college and comes back for Thanksgiving dinner, and she's got a shaved head and nose piercings and hair dyed green, talking about the patriarchy and all this stuff. And he's like, when did this happen? So you're on the internet, you can find that if you want. I didn't include that here, but like it's an obvious thing of just rebellion against the parents. I think that's pretty case closed. Now, moving on to some actual news. The week that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, many professional sports teams had like a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk and put his face up on the jumbotrons and stuff. But 5 NFL teams refused to recognize Charlie Kirk, one of which is the Cincinnati Bengals. So, way to stay classy, Cincy. Thanks. If y'all know, I live in the Cincinnati area, so this one kind of aggravates me. But, I don't really watch sports anyway, so whatever. Among this, a board member of Joe Burrow's charity was removed for despicable comments after Charlie Kirk's death. And this board member was Hamilton County Municipal Court Judge Ted Berry, and he posted on Facebook, quote, "Rest in hatred and division," end quote, and, quote, "How's he feel about gun violence and gun control in hell now," end quote. And just a little reminder, Berry was first elected in 2005, so I think he's served long enough. So for those of you who live in Cincinnati, this one's on you. You need to elect somebody else. Among other firings of people who I kind of like to see, people getting fired over this because y'all asked for this in the past, Secret Service agent named Anthony Pough, I think it's Pough, was terminated for derogatory remarks about Charlie Kirk. Thankfully, he wasn't on the detail for any high-profile politicians, such as the president or anybody in the cabinet or anything like that, but it's still alarming nonetheless that somebody in the Secret Service, within the Secret Service, was like that. Also, here in Ohio, the Democrat candidate for Attorney General made disparaging remarks about Charlie Kirk. This candidate's name is Elliot Forhan, Forhan. So let him know your thoughts about this in the run-up to the election. His campaign email is info@forhan4ohio.com, and the phone number is 740-707-2718, and these will be linked down below too. That way you can just copy and paste them in your phone. Again, no calls to violence, no threats, anything like that, but just let them know your thoughts on this. And to reinforce my previous statements about the left being violent, see this video here from Steve Bonnell, aka Destiny, on his Twitch live stream.
Need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear. Like, I don't know. It's like memes. It's just memes to everybody, I guess. I don't know, bro. I don't know. I don't care. I'm playing video games. Okay, I'm done today. I don't give a fuck. God, it's going to be so fucking gay if I get killed in the next fucking 2 months of shit I'm doing. Well, the cucked shit out here. Please don't anybody make any actual fucking, the most cucked, weak-ass, fucking bullshit-ass speeches on my side. God, if it happens, holy shit, I'm going to make a death note before I go out to go live and not... God, it's so cucked. It's so optics cucked.
Also, he was on Piers Morgan's show and had this to say.
I think that liberals need to wake up and finally realize that if they're not willing to do it, it will never come down. If you wanted Charlie Kirk to be alive, Donald Trump shouldn't have been president for the second term. Every time he's in office, this happens. People joked about when Biden came in, it was so boring, nothing was going on. 7 out of 10 of the largest protests in American history have happened under Donald Trump.
So there at the end, it kind of cuts off. And he says that 7 of the largest protests have been when Trump is in office. But he fails to point out who is doing the protests, you jackass. It's not the right protesting while Trump is in office. It's the left protesting while Trump is in office. It happened in 2020 and it's happening again. So to claim that it's the right doing this is logically fucking stupid. The blatant hypocrisy from the left blows my mind. Anyway, because of Destiny's support for domestic terrorism, he has since been banned from Twitch, and he put out a statement here, essentially getting fired like all of the rest of these deranged lunatics. And he even posted on Twitter, "Oh, my income is gone. So much for the party of free speech. Fuck you." However, he is still able to stream on other outlets like YouTube and Kick is a competitor to Twitch. So I would encourage people to put some pressure on them to do the same. There are also allegations that Steve Bunnell, aka Destiny, has child porn on his computer and tried grooming minors for sexual purposes. So out of anyone, he should be investigated for domestic terrorism and child porn. Because of psychos like Destiny and Hassan Piker, who's another streamer / content creator on outlets like YouTube and Twitch and whatever, saying outrageous things on their platforms, the CEOs of companies like Twitch, Reddit, Discord, and Valve, the parent company of Steam, which is the online gaming marketplace. If you own a PC, that's where you go to buy your games. All of these CEOs are being called to testify before Congress about left-wing radicalization online. So, good on Twitch for banning Destiny, and if you want to celebrate that, go follow me there, as I plan to do another gaming live stream tomorrow on the 21st as I record this. And speaking of getting canceled, this is what I was hinting at the top of the show here. Jimmy Kimmel's late night show got pulled after his deranged, delusional remarks about Charlie Kirk.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. There's demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay? And it did.
So first, Colbert got canceled because his ratings sucked, and now Jimmy Kimmel gets canned too. I couldn't be happier about this, honestly, because these people constantly lie about the right. They have constantly lied about the left doing outright terroristic things. And yeah, as I said last week, for the last 10 years, they've labeled Trump and people like myself as Nazis and Hitler and fascists and all this stuff. So, yeah, you all started this. It's come back around to bite you in the ass. And for all of the lefties crying about free speech, let me read you the exact text of the First Amendment. And this is a little pocket constitution. Well, I can't see it really because of the glare from the light, but I got this from Patriot Mobile. It's a mobile cell phone provider. They provide cell phone service. They're not a sponsor, but if anybody from that company is watching, I'd love to have you. So the First Amendment says, and I quote, Congress, keep that one in mind, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So that first word there, Congress. It says that the government cannot infringe on the right of free speech. Jimmy Kimmel got fired before the FCC chair went out and made statements. So that should show you right there that that was a business decision by the network, not the government interfering. You all have the internet, you can look up the timeline of events. Also, man, Jimmy Kimmel's ratings have been dropping for the last couple years too, so this was probably an easy way for the network to get rid of him. Just my thought. I know other people have been thinking that as well. So yeah, they probably had some sort of morality clause in their contract with him or something, and then at this point they're just like, yeah, we're done, and cited that in the contract. I don't know. That's just me speculating. And finally, for those of you crying about Jimmy Kimmel, one, he's ultra rich, so spare me the tears. And two, y'all celebrated when people like Tucker Carlson, Roseanne Barr, and Megyn Kelly got fired from cable TV, and also celebrated when Trump got banned from every social media platform too. So again, spare me the tears. Y'all planted these seeds 5 years ago. You're now reaping the harvest. And if you don't know what I mean, this is karma. It's coming back to get you. So, again, I do not feel sorry for any of you. I don't. All right, moving on. Two men named Adib Nasir, who is aged 58, and Adil, A-D-I-L, I don't know, don't care. Adil Justice Ahmed Nasir, aged 31, were arrested after an explosive device was found under a Fox 13 van in Utah. This was during the, initial investigation after Charlie Kirk was killed. When police searched their home, they also found 2 fake weapons of mass destruction, whatever that means, I'm not entirely sure, 2 real guns, bomb-making materials, and illegal drugs. So, needless to say, these 2 nut jobs are facing many legal charges now, and I hope they get the book thrown at them. And speaking of nut jobs in the country, President Trump has declared Antifa a terrorist organization and plans to investigate them and anyone who funds Antifa groups. Now, this is just him talking on Truth Social. No executive order or anything like that has come out yet. I'm guessing it'll happen sometime this week, but I'm glad to see this. This is like 8 years overdue. And my guess is that George Soros and others like him, especially like the Open Societies Foundation, are guilty of aiding and abetting these terrorists. So again, it's about time that Trump took action against these people, as it is long, long past due. Maybe, just maybe, when these people start getting arrested and charged, things will chill out. And I know some people have likened our current state in America to the 1960s and 70s with groups like the Weather Underground and stuff. I was thinking that too a while back. It's very, very strange, but it's way easier for people to organize now with the internet than it was back then. So, I don't know, just kind of talking now. Pardon me while I take a drink of water. Okay, so some news that really flew under the radar here. Senate Republicans quietly voted no on the day that Charlie Kirk was killed to block the release of Epstein documents. So you heard that right. Senate Republicans voted against releasing the Epstein files the day that Charlie Kirk was shot in front of his wife and children. I don't understand why. And the more that this goes on, the more people are going to keep believing the conspiracy theories. If you want to put this to bed, then release the documents and let the chips fall where they may. Just saying. Also, a new bill is trying to get pushed through Congress that would strip passports of people critical of Israel. This bill, called Department of State Policy Provisions Act, which is H.R. 5300, would give the Secretary of State the power to strip passports of those, quote, in support of terrorist organizations, end quote. But the language is pretty vague, so that should give everyone pause on what we allow the federal government to do. Now, I know there have been a couple people who had their visas stripped earlier this year because they were blatantly supporting Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. But again, when you have vague language like this in a bill, it really opens up the door for interpretation on what is or is not supporting terrorism. And anybody would say that criticizing another country's government is not supporting terrorism. It's criticizing a government. So hopefully this one gets shot down. I don't like that at all. But again, I'm just a dude on the internet, so that's why I encourage people to share this, because sometimes I find little bits of news that don't get covered a whole lot. This one is just darkly funny, I suppose. New York Judge Gregory, why did I say it like he was Russian? New York Judge Gregory Caro dismissed the terrorist charges on Luigi Mangione. If, for some reason, you don't remember, this guy shot the CEO of United Healthcare in New York, and he died. So, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me anything like this comes from New York. However, the second-degree murder charges are still there on Mangione, so maybe those will stick. But I've often thought that high-profile cases like this have little chance of the person being found guilty, as literally everyone knows about the case. They might not know every single detail, but everybody knows about it. Therefore, I think Mangione will ultimately be found not guilty, kind of like O.J. Simpson and Casey Anthony. You know, those were two very high-profile cases that the entire nation, if not the world, knew about. So I find it hard to think that Mangione will be found guilty on this. Hopefully I am wrong. And I think he should be, because he flat out killed some dude. Now this one is funny. President Trump has now accused Ilhan Omar of immigration fraud and may investigate this matter further. It is widely believed that Omar married her brother to get him into the United States, and that sentence alone is outrageous. In my opinion, anyone like Ilhan Omar who comes to the United States and then spouts about how bad the country is should be sent back to their home country. You obviously came here because your country sucked, so quit trying to make the United States like the shithole that you left. And no, I do not apologize for those words. Somalia is a shithole country. Prove me wrong. I don't know why I find this funny. Anyway, moving on. Just yesterday, President Trump signed a proclamation charging $100,000 per year for H-1B visas to enter the country. This will likely have a major effect on the technology industries here in the United States, as these tech companies really like to pull foreign labor to do their work. According to the Associated Press, who I have linked below for this one, overseas workers are typically paid about $60,000 a year for these tech jobs, which oftentimes require a bachelor's degree, so it's kind of shitty. Whereas U.S. employees are paid at least $100,000 per year for the same job. So if you believe that companies based in America should hire Americans, you should get behind this. And for those on the left who say that, you know, wages need to increase and stuff like that, well, here you go. Here's a perfect example of it. Didn't realize I had this many stories about immigration in this week's episode, but this happened last week, like the week that Charlie Kirk was killed, but I don't know why I didn't hear about it. Probably because everybody was talking about Charlie Kirk. An illegal alien from Cuba was arrested in Dallas, Texas for beheading another man and kicking his head around like a soccer ball. Jordanis Cobos Martinez was detained after this attack, and it has also come to light that Martinez is a career criminal with convictions for child sex abuse, grand theft of a motor vehicle, carjacking, and false imprisonment per the Department of Homeland Security, which I also have linked below. If it were up to me, I would send him back to Cuba and airdrop him right over Havana without a parachute. Bye. Don't care. You abuse children, you get no sympathy from me. End of story. And again, this one happened just yesterday, I believe. Police deployed tear gas and arrested people in Chicago as protesters tried interfering with ICE agents. Roughly 100 people, including some Democrat political candidates, tried to block ICE vehicles from coming in and out of the detention facility. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton said that she and the governor were not informed about this operation, and in my opinion, they shouldn't have been, because they would have just alerted the community beforehand, allowing illegal aliens to slip away. And if for some reason you don't know what the lieutenant governor is, the lieutenant governor of your state is the second in command in your state. Just like you have the president and vice president of the United States, you have your governor and lieutenant governor of your state. There you go. So yeah, keep at it, ICE. Get people out that don't need to be here. 3 police officers were fatally shot and 2 others injured in York County, Pennsylvania, but the motive has not been released at this time. According to the BBC, it seems to be a domestic violence situation gone horribly wrong, but we will see. It seems like everybody is on edge ever since the Charlie Kirk assassination, so maybe it is. Maybe it was just a domestic violence thing gone wrong. And I hate to say this, but I sure hope that's what it was and not something more sinister. Again, prayers for the families of those officers. Yeah. Okay, moving on. The U.S. Has now taken out a second and third boat smuggling drugs from Venezuela to America. And at this point, I'll bet Ronald Reagan is rolling in his grave as he, used to verbally commit to the war on drugs while the CIA flooded inner cities with crack cocaine. Trump is actually fighting the war on drugs the way it should be fought. And if you don't believe me, here's another video of a boat going up in flames. So good on them for taking out drug traffickers that, sell illegal drugs that kill thousands upon thousands of people every year. Again, don't have any sympathy for these narco-terrorists. End of story. You know how I've always been critical of the Big C church? Well, here's another example of why. 8 individuals connected to the House of Prayer Christian Churches of America were indicted for a laundry list of financial crimes. These people are essentially accused of cult-like control, my words, not the Department of Justice, over congregants within their church locations, such as manipulating church members into turning over personal information, pressuring people to marry and divorce others arranged by church leaders, and forcing church members to live in properties owned by the church, thus generating rental income. Again, this is an example, this is a prime example of why I'm critical of the Big C church, or Big C church, as a whole. And I always encourage people to attend a church so small that you can meet the pastor once the service is over. I really don't like mega churches, even, not just the ones that you see on TV where they got thousands upon thousands of people in them per service, but there's even a couple of churches in my area that are pretty big, and that just never has seemed right to me. You can't shake the pastor's hand at the end of the service. I just feel like it's not there for the right reason. I don't know. If you disagree, I would love to hear your opinions. Especially one church in my area whose former pastor got in some legal trouble back in the 80s for trying to smuggle cocaine into Canada into the assholes of his horses. Okay. To end, we are going to go across the pond and talk about London and France. Both countries have seen massive protests as of late, and in London, the Unite the Kingdom rally saw protesters from across the country who are fed up with the way that the UK is going. Tommy Robinson, the de facto leader of this movement, has been jailed multiple times for speaking out against the British government, mainly for their unfettered immigration of people from the Middle East coming into the country and causing chaos, namely the Pakistani rape gangs that he talks about. Numbers for the attendees at this rally range from 100,000 at the low end to 1 million at the high end, but the event was so large that estimates are nearly impossible. Finally, Elon Musk spoke with Tommy Robinson remotely, and this is what Musk had to say.
And then you see how much violence there's on the left, with our friend Charlie Kirk getting murdered in cold blood this week, and people on the left celebrating it openly. The left is the party of murder and celebrating murder. I mean, let that sink in for a minute. That's who we're dealing with here.
So I hope that some changes come to the UK government, because it seems like a large portion of the country is fed up with them. Similarly, France is seeing protests for government budget cuts, and this comes after other recent protests in the country for similar matters. It seems like France has been on the verge of a governmental collapse for like the last, 10 years or so. So this is kind of just par for the course right now. But in the end, it seems that many countries in the Western world are getting fed up with their governments and are now demanding change, to which I would say I mostly agree. So that's all I've got for this week. Take care of yourselves. Keep an eye on the rooftops if you're at events, and share this with your lefty friends because they're the ones that need to hear this shit. On that note, I will see you all next week, and thank you for watching.